so energized. Like Dunbar was energized, okay.
Yeah.
And he was doing all his territorial behaviors, put on the shoe right in front of his face and making it hold on to me as I pray, and then saying a prayer that was threatening, by the way, was threatening what he was saying. And all that kind of jazz, asking if he's got mother and father in his life and stuff. It was a whole lot of Jumbalina that was going on with him. So, and I always ask myself the question: are they acting, or this is really how you behave? Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, this is not a normal situation where you're on the street and someone just randomly start talking to your woman. This is like literally you're being told they're coming to take your woman on a date and they're going to return her back.
Right.
So it always shocks me the way that some of these men behave, but this is generally how they generally do behave. They generally do behave like this. So, it was interesting. And if that is the truth, then that means we are seeing something that could be an issue. And maybe the reason why Chance has not taken a chance on this love in marriage, because maybe, sometimes what happens to people, sometimes people stay in relationships longer than they have to, knowing they don't want to go any further with the relationship as in marriage, but they stay in it.
Yeah.
And so when you don't test the reason why they haven't gone further, they'll just keep staying in a situation. Because as for now, Chance, you love what he does. You love the fact that he's territorial. What is the reason why we're here then? You don't need the show to prove that you want to get married. Just get married. So there must be something else that we're not seeing, or something that hasn't been encountered as of yet, as to why Chance hasn't agreed to his proposal, because he's ready to go.
He's ready. Yeah. Yeah.
He's ready to go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is that weird? Do you think that's weird, that aspect?
I agree with you. Let me ask you this, because it's one of the things that we talked about earlier. I felt like he was low-key disrespectful, and they asked, why did Phil bring back the food? And I said, I don't care if production told him to bring back the food or not. There's no way a guy that was, confident in himself would actually have done, even if production asked him. What did you think about that? Because I agree that Chance was like egging it on, which was not cool, which is, again, says, even if it is a dynamic where he takes control, she's cool with it, because she defended it even when, Dr. Stacey J said that it was too much. What did you think about him? The prayer was threatening, but even saying, bring me back some food, and then doing the most when they return back to the house.
See, I'm petty. I said this to my audience. I'm petty. I would have brought I would have brought the food half eaten. You know what I mean? Like, I would have been petty about it if I was going to do it. But yes, by him bringing the food, what it actually signaled to Chance specifically as well is that you know what, Dunbar was right. You are a young boy.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not saying that and I think this is why oftentimes, and I'm not this is not necessarily saying this is the situation, but this is why sometimes men end up fighting, because in this instance, we are all looking at the young man like, well, he just sunned you. You just gonna have that.
Yeah.
And you've kind of had it. And I'm not saying that he should retaliate in any situation, but bringing back the food further endorsed the fact that you are a small boy. And maybe if the date had gone swimmingly well, like so well, we might have forgotten the food that you're going to bring at the end, because we might have seen it differently. Like, oh, okay, he's really trying to rile things up because he knows he's got his girl. But none of that happened. So it's like, with that, additionally with the food, you got sunned before that. It kind of showing that not only are you a small boy, but it also shows there's a bit of fear there. And that doesn't give protective vibes to Chance, who's already got somebody who's willing to almost die for her. And you come in and tame. It's not going to send any good signals to Chance, to be honest.
No, I agree 100%. It just he did get sunned, and he went along with it. And even on the date, you could just tell his whole confidence was shook. Like, Dunbar really set it up, and it went exactly as he wanted. Let me ask you, before we go to the next couple, what did you think of the difference of Dr. Stacey J? Because you and I would actually do these with Dr. Nicole. Dr. Nicole we didn't always agree with her 100%, but I thought she brought a lot of wisdom. So what did you think of our very, very jazzy Dr. Stacey J joining?
Listen, I'm not even mad. She came in strong, and she stamped her foot on this particular show, and she made sure she knew that she was there. Okay. Yeah. I think it's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to, because I'm used to the analogies. I'm used to Dr. Nicole with the little stories to bring it in and tie it all in. Stacey a little bit more straight, a little bit more direct. And hopefully that will work for the couples. Hopefully we'll also get to see her do what we saw with Dr. Nicole, we saw with the couples, which is the one-on-ones where there's genuine conversations about breaking things down, and it doesn't turn into a TV gimmick. That's what I'm hoping that's going to happen from then onwards, because this was a great moment. She told Dunbar off, and I think it was perfect. But I hope that they get the one-on-one sessions, and we get to see her really dissect and break down, like we saw with Dr. Nicole, and bring them into some type of alignment, rather than it just being another moment to kind of give us a TV moment. I hope that's what we're going to see in the next few weeks as well of her. So, you know, I'm not mad at it. I am sad that Dr. Nicole has left. But yeah, you know, it's good. Change is always good, they always say. So a
little shake up.
How do you feel about it?
I feel like what I felt like is that there were a lot of complaints because of the situation with Shorty Mac and Kenneth last year. With that being such a, even though it was like, you know, hype and a lot of people talking about it online, that was kind of a serious situation. And I think that, and even Charlie and Otis, there was just a lot of feedback. So I think they shook it up for the fact that they just got so much. I mean, that was really a unfortunate situation for someone to come in and be using the show to really deal with a domestic violence situation. Really is not, it wasn't fair, you know what I mean? But
it wasn't fair.
I think that kind of had a little bit to do with it. I'm just speculating, you know what I mean? Because I know that I'm here in Atlanta, and I know that there was a lot of negativity around the way it was handled, right? So Janika says we missed the ponytail. I'm with Kojo. I love Dr. Nicole had some, I mean, it would take her a while to get it out, but she had a lot of wisdom, and she would literally break things down with analogies that were so on point. And I really like the way I learned some things from her. I really learned that men have the ability to heal family issues. That was so powerful when she showed us with Shay and Alfonso. And so I really hope that, but like I said, Stacey is a good friend. And I know that she's been counseling women. One of the things I think that people didn't see is always everybody get held accountable in front of us, right? And so I think that, you know, seeing Stacey kind of go in with Dunbar and not play with it. She didn't play with it. She went straight to it. I think it's a refreshing change.
Refreshing.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
All right, so now, Kojo, we got to talk about Ricky and Catherine, because I already know. I can't wait to hear your break.
Ooh, I think she's popped off, guys. She's her internet must have taken her out, guys.
It took me out. I was so excited. It took me out.
It took you out.
I was excited because I know when I watched this clip, I was like, oh no, Kojo gonna get him all the way together, because I don't feel like this man is healed. I'm gonna play this clip, and then I want you to give us your perspective on Ricky and Catherine.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
His past experience is holding us back.
I'm really not saying no to marriage. I just want to take my time. Just got to be patient.
And that's why sometimes I do question our compatibility.
Long story short, I've been through pretty much anything you could think of.
Okay.
You know what? This situation, you know, is it's an interesting one. I think they have a history already. They have 10 years as friends, I believe, as well, right? So that makes things a little bit more complicated. The reality is he's scared to get married again. But not only is he scared, it's also now affecting also their intimacy as well, right? That's what she was saying. So we've got a situation where this man is giving me, I'm no longer here. Not because she's done anything wrong per se, but it's almost as if he's checked out. You know, when I look at him sitting at, you know, with her at times, and sometimes we see the little sofa bits as well, it feels like he's not necessarily all here. And I think that's to do with what he's experienced in that past marriage. That past marriage has taken it all the way out of him. But you know what? He got a little resurgence probably back when he entered the relationship with his friend, you know, and now they're lovers. But once that honeymoon phase goes, you've got to deal with you. And now that has caught up with him. And now the question about marriage isn't the issue. It's the trigger word of marriage. And it's the idea of marriage again, once more, going back into that space again. Because what's the difference between you and doing marriage and doing this is that the fact is there's no trap, there's no back door. Once you go in, you're in. You know what I mean? And that not dealing with what you've experienced in the past is causing him to withdraw from her. And if he doesn't sort, this is a him issue at the moment. It's a him issue that if he doesn't get counseling for, if he doesn't get some therapy for, if he doesn't get some help in terms to be able to release what he did for what he's experienced, he's going to forever hold this girl in a prison that is going to slowly rot her away. And the biggest issue I heard when she was mentioning it is that he felt like he did everything right in that past relationship, in that past marriage, and then got cheated on, and then got financial issues. And it's like, everything I did right, it still landed me in the wrong position. How come? And the reality is, unfortunately, sometimes in these situations, you can do everything quote unquote right, but the person has a free will to do whatever they want. And at those times when it does happen like that to you, you just have to just brush it off and get back up on the horse again, and move on. But it doesn't feel like he's done that. And I think he needs to go and just speak to the therapist or counselor. This should have been done before he entered the relationship with her, but he probably didn't even realize how much baggage he was carrying. And now he's struggling to give her the pieces that she needs in order to maintain in this relationship. So it's sad, because honestly, I look at him and it's like a shell of himself. It's not him.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I feel like Michelle said big best friend energy, but do you think that it could be safe? Because to me, when you're hurt, right? And you could tell he's hurt. Like he looks hurt even in his video. And when you're watching him sit there, he talks about it, you could tell he's still hurt. A friend is a safe place. It doesn't have the same passion. Someone you've been friends with for 10 years, it allows you to not have to be 100% vulnerable, because you know this person, and it's not, there's not the fear of being taken advantage of. It's a very safe thing, but it also doesn't necessarily mean he's 100% in it. It just could be something to do, right? Do you think that? I mean, I just feel like with a man, it's hard to be friends with a woman for 10 years that you were passionate about, right? This is a safe thing for him.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a safety here. I mean, he found a soft cushion to land on when probably from after that divorce, or and it probably was easier to go into that with that person, because again, you're not having to be emotionally stretched, because you know this person, you have a history with this person knows what you've gone through. Like, you have that safety and that comfort zone, which means more than likely you might never have had to actually work on the parts of yourself, because ordinarily this person accepts you as you are because they know who you are. And because of that comfort, we're now in a position where she's asking you to stretch, but as she's asking you to stretch, that's not how you guys started, number one. And number two, now she's asking you to stretch, it's beginning to expose parts of you, like the parts that you don't want to necessarily deal with. And you're probably saying to yourself, if she stretches me anymore, I'm probably going to snap and break, because I haven't got much to stretch for. You're asking for this marriage thing. Why do we need to have marriage? We've enjoyed it up until this point in time. It's been good so far. So why change a good thing? You know?
Right. Now, speaking of why change a good thing, I feel like that is definitely the case with Joy and Joshua. Like, I feel like with him, he's like, hey, we good. Like, we're traveling. We're having a good time. What is the problem? And she's the one that it feels very much like a heaviness to her. Like, we're supposed to be married. We're doing all this stuff. She has a child already. I feel like she definitely wants things to move to the next level. But to me, I don't feel like he's not really as invested, in my opinion. He also seemed, they seem a little bit petty. I feel like this could be a petty situation.
Listen.
Yeah.
You said it first and best.
Little Charlie and Otis-ish, by the way. Because I was like watching her try to bait him with what happened on the date. And then him say, oh, well, what about, what happens on my date? I was like, we going right back. We're going right back to the pettiness. What was your thoughts of the two of them?
You just took the words right out of my mouth. It is Otis and Char again, all over. And I still haven't recovered from them last season. So, do you know what? Yes, absolutely. And the reason I knew straight away that she was a problem, and then I realized she was a problem after, because obviously when they had a conversation, but I knew she was a problem when there's a little montage where she's, touching up her dress to say, and she says, I'm so excited to go on these dates. Now, everyone else says, I'm a bit apprehensive, a bit nervous. She says she's excited. I said, yeah, she's ready to show this boy that, listen, you going to marry me or not, but you're going to feel it. And that's when I knew it's going to be trouble. Yeah. And then when you see her on the date, old boy is not somebody, I don't think this is a guy she would ever date. Can I be honest with you? I don't think it's a guy she would ever date.
Never.
But the fact that he was willing to give her the attention that she needed in that moment to get what she wanted to get out of the situation. That's why she out here trying to dab his face and allowing her to kiss his hand and everything like that, not setting the proper boundaries in that aspect. You knew what you were doing. You knew what you were doing. And then for you to come home and then sit on the sofa all cute. And this is that's why I said it gave me remnants, slightly different of Charlena, but still the same. It's like, why when you brought the flowers home, what were you thinking? Y'all thinking that it's going to be comfortable? It's not. And the same thing here. She came and sat on the thing and she wanted to bait him. So she told him straight, well, the bait was, the thing was cute. It was nice. Oh, but I got to tell you something. I mean, he did, kiss my hand. She could not wait to give it to him good. You know what I mean? And him being true to the game, he said, all right, cool, no worries about it. He was a gentleman, right? Yeah, and he locked her in. So he's like, he was a gentleman, right? And she's like, yeah, he's a gentleman. Fantastic. I'm a gentleman too, by the way. I'm gonna kiss some hands and I'm gonna dab some mouths as well. So they are both gonna be game playing, but the reality, they got a real situation here. They got a real situation here, which is, do you want kids in a specific amount of time? If not, this needs to end now because we've got a time limit. Yeah. So Josh and is it Josh? Josh and
Joya. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. That decision needs to be done now. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? But I'd prefer you guys get married first. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, if we're gonna have a kid, decide now. But the reality is, if he's been dragging his feet all this while now, having a kid now, it's gonna be resentful in the future. I'd say that she needs to leave now.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I said this. I agree with you 100%. And it's interesting because we don't always agree 100%, but because you usually look at it from the guy's perspective, and I'm looking from the woman's perspective. But my thing is this, and I feel like the situation, especially with Joya and Joshua, and also Catherine and Ricky, they've both been dating for 2 years, right? Actually, so have Dunbar and Chance. 2 years, and the woman in the last two situations is putting the pressure on the man. If the man hasn't said to you, he's thinking about marriage or he's taking it, that there's a reason. I don't know. And so to me, I feel like I enjoy talking about this show. I enjoy watching it. But to me, even going through all the therapy and everything, if the man hasn't decided within himself that he sees you as a wife, this is not going to change that.
100%. 100%. It's, the threat of somebody leaving doesn't often work as the reason why the person now decides to change their mind. And really, do you want them to change their mind after you threaten to leave? You want them to come to that conclusion by themselves. I mean, in rarer cases, it does work, but in most cases, it doesn't work in the long term. He hasn't tried to marry before. He's not in that space of marriage. Even Dunbar's trying to marry his woman, and you're behind, and you don't want to. So clearly, we have two different things, because if you, and again, I'm also asking the question as well, because she mentioned the baby rather than the marriage. Yeah. So she's taking the cart before the horse. Yeah. So why are you guys on the show? Because clearly your objective is not marriage. Your objective is to have a child. We're not here for marriage. You don't need to be on the show. Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of things. And what it's going to expose is mindsets being warped and wrong. I'm not saying that, listen, people shouldn't have their kids whenever they want to have them, but I am kind of saying that, so I'm going to say it. But I'm saying in this instance, you got your priorities wrong the wrong way round, sis. Yeah. You want to be getting his commitment and then getting a child, because we want to be in stable relationships when we have these children, if at all possible. If we can actually, be a part of that process. Get the commitment first. Get somebody who's committed, and then do that. Don't let the passion for wanting kids to put you in a position where now, you're now having to do this alone. If he decides, I'm not really on this, it's not really my thing. And then that's what you get, men going, "Oh, you trapped me," and da-da-da. So
That's the
you know,
part I was going to
again,
say, that resentfulness of a man when he just goes ahead and gives in because you've beat him down or you've, wore him out. That doesn't work good. That doesn't work well in the long run, because you don't want
yeah,
anyone to feel resentful. Even with Chance and Dunbar, with her saying she don't want to be out of the club, she's still enjoying a hot girl summer. Let her enjoy it, because if you try to force it out of her, she's going to end up resenting you for it. And,
yep.
I think in any situation, but especially, I don't know, I just feel like, especially with women trying to convince men, because I think a woman is a little bit easier to, persuade. But if a man is not talking about marriage and he's not there yet, leave him be, because you're going
Let him
to
go.
you're going to end up with someone that resents you, or his actions are, after you get what you want, you're going to realize it is the worst thing possible, because she's going to make you pay for it, and you're not
Yep.
going to be treated the way you want to be treated. You want him to be excited about asking you to be his wife, not be resentful. Like, we ain't getting no younger. We might as well do it if we have the energy that we want. That jagged edge stuff was wrong. It was
Trust
wrong.
me. You just spoke a word there, Terrell. And you're absolutely right. I think, you don't want to just do this just because time is running out. And we're in a generation now where we are very hedonistic. We are very self, and what unfortunately, people will do what they want to do. They want to choose what works best for them.
Yeah.
And that's fair, but it creates a lot of problems, and relationships are one of those problems. You cannot try and put the cart before the horse, So, look for the person who's committed to you, rather than trying just to drag somebody along the way, when in reality, the person doesn't really want to be there. He wants to enjoy her.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to commit to a marriage. And maybe it's just her that he doesn't want to commit to, but sis, make a choice. He's not going to commit to the marriage. So,
No, and making him jealous is not going to work, because I was just saying, with a man that wants to enjoy you and a man that wants to be responsible for your expectations are two different things. So there's a lot of men in the street that will enjoy your, how you look and are attracted, and your presence and your energy, and perhaps even your body. But when you want the expectations, he's like, wait a minute, keep the man you got at home, because I don't want to do all that. I just wanted to be able to, look at it and talk to it and flirt with it, but I don't really want it. Like, no. So you can't really go on that,
Yeah.
Well,
you can't.
I'm
Go for it.
excited. I'm just excited that we're going to be doing this again this season. And actually, what we need to do next week is we need to talk about, I know we talked about this, we need to talk about Put a Ring on It. And then we also need to recap the foolishness that is happening on Ready to Love.
Because a whole lot of buffoonery. A whole lot of buffoonery.
It's a lot of foolishness. And I got some intel. I got some intel on that. So I'm going to hit you offline. And then next Thursday, we'll reconvene, and we'll talk about Ready to Love. We'll talk about Put a Ring on It. And I still want us to I want your perspective on the book. I quoted you in the book, and that was from our conversations on the recap for Put a Ring on It last season. So we want to talk about that. But you guys, please make sure to tune in next week. We'll put up a notification and let you guys know exactly what time, and get our times right, so you get both of us the entire time. But I thank my handsome cohorts from across the pond for joining me. As always, we'll be back. But I'm excited about next week, because we got to talk about Ready to Love first. We got to get that out the way.
You're telling me. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much. You guys tune in next week, next Thursday. Like I said, we'll put up the times. Kojo, kisses to you, and I will talk to you. I'll hit you offline shortly. Okay.
Appreciate
All right. You guys have a good one, and we'll be back next week.